to Israeli politics. 88 days to go until Israel's election day. And the Labor Party appears to be imploding. Labor, along with another party that made up the Zionist Union, had 24 seats in the Knesset last time around. The second biggest party. And now they're shedding voters every month. Last month's polls had them earning 9 seats. Last week's polls had them earning 7 seats, or even lower, down from 24. All of this is happening under the stewardship of leader Avi Gabbay, who was elected 7 months ago. Perhaps it's no surprise then that Gabbay was met with insults and whistles at what was supposed to be his big night at the conference in Tel Aviv last night. Gabbay told thousands of party members he can defeat Netanyahu in April. Instead of cheers and support, it was mostly whistles and boos.
Friends, we'll continue. It's okay that there are those who are shouting things and whistling. They won't stop us. They won't stop us on the path to victory.
With me now in studio is Colette Avital. Colette is a former Labor Party lawmaker, longtime Labor Party supporter and activist. Thank you, Colette, so much for being with me. What are your thoughts on that? That this is the party leader. It's supposed to be a celebration of support. The party clearly divided, that there were so many people booing Avi Gabbay, insulting him instead of supporting him. What is going wrong with the Labor Party of today?
It's a sad story and a long story. First of all, the Labour Party was really the founder for so many years of not only the State of Israel, but of most of its institutions for so many years, whether it was the Sick Fund or whether it was the Bank Hapoalim, and it had a very firm and very solid background and a very solid platform. And people argued they were people from the left or from the right, but it was a social democratic party. I think things started changing in the past 10 to 15 years, I think more or less 10 years, when the party felt that in order to win the elections, look, it was a party that had usually between 48 and 50 seats in the Knesset, and then it started falling apart because of splinter. Well, yes, also the electoral system created that problem. But the moment it started thinking that since the electorate has turned right, since there are acts of terrorism which influence the population, it has to steal voices or to get voices from the right. So instead of keeping on to its traditional positions, it started having wishy-washy kind of attitudes. In last elections, it was, and even today, it was very difficult to know what exactly the policy of Labour is, whether Labour finds that it is a right-wing party or a left-wing party.
There's an expression in American politics that started way back with President Truman. You know, the buck stops here. That the ultimate responsibility is of the leader, is of the party leader. Doesn't the buck stop with Avi Gabbay? He is watching this party implode.
Yes. Well, Avi Gabbay, who in many ways I thought was a very good candidate, and even though I was not in the party anymore, I did support him, and he's a decent person, and he has many things in his favor. I think he came with no real experience, and he made a lot of mistakes, one after the other, in which he managed to alienate people. Then I think the divorce, the way it was done from Tzipi Livni, the breaking of what was called the Zionist camp.
Did that bother you as someone, as a lawmaker, as a woman, the way he handled it?
Absolutely. I think that it's legitimate to say, okay, our partnership has not worked. Let's sit down and let's discuss and let's part our ways, and you go your way, I go my way. I have problems with you. But to do it as a surprise in front of everyone, like a public hanging, I think that this is partly what got so many people up in arms against him. And also the fact that even though Labour seems to drop, he still wants to have 3 seats that he will keep for people that he will select. So people, I think, feel that the party is running away from their hands.
What's your message, perhaps, then, to Avi Gabbay? If you could give him a piece of advice, because there still is about 3 months to go. A lot can happen. A lot will happen. I mean, it's not over yet. I mean, they could build support back up. Is it a problem messaging? I mean, do you think that Avi Gabbay has to have a new slogan, a new platform? What needs to change, do you think?
I don't think the problem is one of slogans, even though when we're talking now about political elections, everybody will go with a slogan, and some people will gain a lot by not speaking it, and you know whom I'm referring to. But I think he has to formulate a clear policy that makes his party different from other parties. He has to be open to criticism and to people around him. He has to co-opt people around him and not to alienate them. And I think that
he has been alienating people.
He has alienated a lot of people around him.
This election, there are so many new parties. I mean, Israel Resilience Party, the Bridge Party, all these new parties, and I'm missing 10, but there are so many new parties. Is this good for Israel's government, for democracy?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, obviously one could say that a multiplicity expresses democracy, but the fact is that so many political parties and so many little splinters from other political parties can create havoc, can create difficulties in putting together a coalition. And once a coalition is put together, the power of small parties within a coalition becomes a power to extort in order to remain there.
You have your one issue, and you can hold.
I would really, I mean, if I would have a wish, is to see two strong groups, like in America, perhaps less, but at least two strong groups that can alternate in politics.
Labor used to have that. I mean, but now
Labor used to
should
have
Avi
that.
Gabbay, should he do more to try and merge? I mean, should he consider?
I think the only look. I personally believe that it's time to change the government, and I will not go into criticism. I do not wish to say anything about Netanyahu at this stage of the game, but I think democracy demands that there be an alternative and that there should be a new government. And I believe that this new government has to be formed, can be formed only if all these groups will get together and form some kind of a grand coalition. And I'll remind you, for instance, for many years, Mitterrand in France waited, I think he lost, I don't know how many times. The only time he managed to win was when he created a coalition of the left.
We have to leave it here. Colette Avital, former Labour Party lawmaker, longtime party activist, someone who cares very deeply about the future of that movement.